Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Travels with Brett. Today we are in Edinburgh in Scotland. Beautiful place. As you can see, the train service here on ScotRail is very good, and we are going to see what it's like in one of the best cities in all of the United Kingdom. But first we got to get there. Train is a great way to do it. Another thing you want to do, have a great jacket because it always rains in Scotland. Here we go! Now welcome to South Queen's Ferry. It's just north of Edinburgh, but it's a beautiful spot in its own right. If you want to do something outside of the city, this is a great place to go. Behind me, you have a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Firth of Forth Bridge, one of the most interesting railroad bridges in all of the United Kingdom. And just around me on the other side, you can see the Hawes Inn, famous because this is where Robert Louis Stevenson decided to write Treasure Island. So you can go in and have a pint of best, enjoy the beautiful views of the bridge, and if you feel like it, get yourself some Highland whiskey. Single malt is incredibly good in all of Scotland. And the best place to buy it is at any grocery store. You'll get good prices and a good selection. We're about to arrive at Hound Point, one of the foremost interesting points of Firth of Forth history. It is here that the Scottish Army marched down this very road some 300 years ago to meet the Brits in battle. Today, it's just a friendly pedestrian road, but be careful. In Scotland, it's legal to make a road end for no reason, and people drive off to their death every year. So pay attention to the road signs. They can get a bit tricky. Scotland's a great place. Enjoy. According to local legend, this is where Robert the Bruce first hid his gold that he found at the end of the rainbow from the English. And it is here, in this spot, 50 years later, that Robert II discovered the gold that his grandfather had left behind. Let's take a look inside. The sturdy construction has lasted through the centuries. Robert II's treasure was hidden here, found, and since then, this place has been a story of legends in itself. Great battles took place here. You can see the slashing on the wall from broadswords of Scotsmen who fought for their freedom against the English. But let's take you to the place where the treasure, the gold at the end of the rainbow, was actually found. It was in this spot right here, which has now been destroyed by vagrants, lesser breeds, but nonetheless still an important part of Scottish heritage. And look into the great panoramic view that rather unassuming spot in the forest opens up to. In fact, let's go back to the forest and have more adventure together. Little known fact, Sting, the famous writer, is from Scotland. And it was here that he was inspired to write his song, The Fields of Barley, with Roxanne included in the title. And to get his inspiration, it is said that he would run through the fields as fast as he could, usually with clothes on, sometimes not, depending if he had lead that day. I'm going to try it now and see what kind of inspiration I can get. Scotland is rather famous for lots of things. Beautiful beaches, it's nice warm summer tropical weather, and plenty of harbor seals, as you can see here in the background. They usually come up to feed during this time of day, which is, according to the sun, about 3 p.m. And you can see that they often like to spend time with the locals. There's been a lot of interaction with harbor seals and humans over the years. Again, tropical beaches, friendly locals, even more friendly harbor seals here in beautiful Scotland, part of England. We're in pretty hostile territory right now. This symbol that you can clearly see here indicates a native presence. The natives in this tropical portion of Scotland are known to be rather hostile and have been prone to cannibalism during particularly bad harvests. I would say we need to tread lightly and keep our eyes open. More importantly, keep our heads on a swivel, because this sign means there's been a recent fresh kill. Scotland's famous for a lot of its cuisine. Haggis, fresh fish, fire crotch. Did you know that you can also eat the local stones, which they sell in small quantity here in Scotland? We'll try them now. They really, they don't taste like much anything at all. So, the best recipe for eating stones in Scotland is to have fresh Scottish mountain water. Don't want the British kind, because it's bad. Ugh. Yeah, so small amount of stones. It's good for the lead, and yeah, enjoy that. The rocks here in Scotland are very old. According to geologists, they were made on the first and second day of creation, about 6,000 years ago. So all the stones here are a lot older than humans, by about 4 days. An episode of Star Wars was filmed here. Oh, fuck, they stink. It's important to remember that even though serfdom on the surface seemed like a bad idea for just the few on the top, if it wasn't for serfdom, we wouldn't have amazing buildings to go and look at today. So as a tourist, looking back in history, you should be happy that the backs of the bruised, which we metaphorically walk on here as seashells, help build the wealth of a few families so that we can go and spy from a distance and imagine what it must have been like to look out at the Firth of Forth and shake your dick at every fucking boat that went by to say, look it, mine's bigger than yours. You know, shore walks in Scotland are fantastic, and the public land is a good thing. However, every now and then you come to a point in your journey where people tell you to fuck off. And I think that's a good thing. It's important to remember the benefits of a hierarchy. And always keep in mind that you're not as good as the person who owns the property along the water's edge. This guy does not like people. Here, this is important to note. They'll call the police on you if you try to go over this side of the thing, because they own everything from here all the way to the center of the earth and then all the way up to the top of the planet. They own all of it, so you can't go in here. Private, it says. And then just to make sure, in case you walked over here and you didn't see that one, it's good to know that it's private also here. So the Barngaboogle and the gardens, you don't get to go in anywhere, and they have it on TV. So if you try to go in, you're also not only arrested, but you'll be on TV. Man, a lot of people are camera shy. It's important to emphasize that this property right here is private. That guy with his big swinging Johnson doesn't want you anywhere near his house. What a man, right? He built it himself with his own hands. It's not a family heirloom or anything like that. So his house is big, and you shouldn't go in because you're not invited. But I think it's important to remember that if you think you have a swinging dick, and maybe you do, some guys have dicks so big that they have their own dick. And this motherfucker has got a big dick. Look at the size of this house. This is Scotland, people. And he doesn't need a fence. He doesn't need to tell you that this is private property. He doesn't give a fuck if you get anywhere near his house. After all, it's so big, he won't even know you're here. This guy invented golf. He's got a golf course on his property. What do you have? Nothing. It's important to remember that you have nothing. You're here to see these things. You don't get to have them. So there's always a perspective to be had. And I think the biggest perspective is from this guy's point of view. Yeah? Okay, smile for the camera. Enjoy. If you're lucky enough to come to Scotland, you'll probably want to go golfing. I'll clear the hole for you now so you can make that nice putt. This is the home of a man named Golf, Mr. Golf to be more precise. As you can see from the more derelict parts of the greens, he just makes his own golf courses where he wants them, and when he gets bored he leaves them, makes new ones. Because this guy, Mr. Golf, he's the real deal. You should see his fucking balls. The movie Robin Hood, about Robin the Hood in Sherwood Forest. Sherwood Forest actually is in Scotland, and we're in it now. This is surely wood, and we are definitely in a forest. So it's safe to say that this is the Sherwood Forest that Robin Hood would have fought against the English in Scotland back a long time ago. Look how beautiful it is in this Shirley Wood forest. In Scotland, there's a lot of secret doors that you can go into that go to other dimensions. This one, for example, goes to the realm where unicorns actually live. Fun known fact, the national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. This is called a flower forest. It gets its name because you can see how tall the flowers are. You walk into the forest and this is a Scottish tradition. They do this on the 22nd of August every year. They get into the flower forest and they stand still and then they scare each other. I'm in the flower forest! We're in the flower forest!
You can't do it with a Scottish accent though.
I'm in the flower forest! I'm in the flower forest! It was at this site 300 years ago that the English kings hung all of the Scottish lords, and they left this rope as a token of their gratitude for being able to do that, because it was probably a lot of fun and they got a lot of good land and women out of the deal. Not to mention free-range chickens, which are of great size in Scotland. So to pay homage to the Scottish kings that were killed, or lords, who gives a fuck what they were called, we just go for a swing ourselves. Swinging on their dead bodies, baby. Oh, shit. Whoa, look at this. This particular tree hasn't had a visitor in a while. I mean, if you look at it, he's in a lot of pain. Very painful position to be in on the side of a cliff. Always getting barraged by the heavy tides that are indicative here in Scotland. Much heavier tides than everywhere else in the world. It's a Scottish fact. They have the biggest tides and the friendliest cashiers anywhere in the world. No way a person could ride a bike through this. No way. In Scotland, it's common to ride your bicycle in the most complicated and difficult places you can get, as noted by the recent bicycle activity that took place here not all that long ago. In fact, it's possible with the right set of eyes to do a bit of a bicycle investigation. There are bicycle tours where you can go look for bicycle people. And then you just get on your bike and go. I mean, how great is that? You can go anywhere you want on a bicycle in Scotland. So, in Scotland, history never lets a good story get ruined by historical fact. For example, here in Scotland, it says, the worn carving above has been supposed to be not even good. It's not even good English. The worn carving above has been supposed to be an eagle carved by the Roman garrison of Cramond. Whether it is an eagle or whether it is even Roman is uncertain. The Historic Scotland Society. Very, very important historical facts here in Scotland. Favorite Scottish pastime is to skip rocks. These beautiful flat stones they make here in Scotland just for that throwing purpose. Here we can see a beautiful rock skip. Perfect. Often in Scotland it's difficult to find your way because they stop putting the clasps in places. For their own amusement, the locals sit and watch and laugh as tourists who try to make their way through this shitty bush. And it hurts a lot. And then you get all this way and there's a private property sign. Fuck you, Scotland. Well, look at how great the view is. We're in a bit of a situation in Scotland. This is a common occurrence where suddenly you end up in the woods with no help but your trusty phone. So we're taking a look at some of these interesting places that they've decided to name after, I suppose, for tourists like us and like you, more importantly you, to make you feel very isolated and alone. For example, the closest town is called Burnshot, not very inviting, near what is called the Cockleburn River. You're Cockleburn if you swim across this river. So be very careful when suddenly you find yourself in Scottish forests full of Robin Hoods, because everything gets bad quick. It happens so often that people climb on these, for whatever reason, timber stacks, that they had to go to a sign company and have this made. Do not climb on timber stacks. So you must ask yourself, why are they trying to impede this Scottish tradition of climbing on timber stacks that are just on the roadside? We shall climb the timber stacks to find out. Jesus Christ, it's not safe. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't climb on the timber stacks. Let's try a different one. Fucking hell, man. Climbing on timber stacks, Scottish tradition. Enjoy. Couldn't climb the timber stacks. In 1968, a boy named Liam Wesson fell to his death in a timber stack accident. His mother received a call at 3 o'clock in the morning to be told that he had climbed timber stacks. At first she was wondering if that was a mountain somewhere in Nepal, but no, it is actually just a pile of logs on the side of a muddy road. And he was not the hero she had thought he was when he penned her words from distant lands. Instead, he was just down the street fucking around, and he died on a pile of timber stacks. There's a lesson here, but we will not learn it today. Look at this, the plane's telling us which way to go. It's so nice of it. Even these plants are just like, hey, welcome. We're really happy to have you here. Spreading ourselves out at a very specific height at the top. Let you know that you've arrived out of the dark forest of timber stack climbing and are now well on your way to the city of Edinburgh, where you can enjoy a pint of beer or whiskey if you're a fucking drunk. Enjoy! Thanks for joining us on Brett's Travels. As you can see, we've made it to Stonehenge, which was our ultimate goal to arrive to in Scotland. And we think that it's a very beautiful place and that you should visit. It's hard to walk because, we've had some whiskey, which is an essential part of the Scotland experience. So enjoy, and we'll see you in our next episode in the Faroe Islands. Fucking me.